Priest.
Whose priest is that? Is that Odemian on the priest? So it's Raza priest.
It shall bring victory.
Against the aggro Murlocs.
Now, this is a matchup that, in general, has usually favored the Paladin, but Chakki has decided to run cards like Blessing of Kings and Bone Mare, which you don't always see, instead of a lower curve in Divine Favor. So that might hurt him a little bit in this matchup.
I think it does, but I would still consider this to be Paladin favored. Just the type of starts that this deck can have, and when the Blessing of Kings comes down on turn 4, the priest is not going to have an AoE removal at that point. Either they need the single target to just remove the minion with Kings, and then everything else gets to attack again, or they'll have a small AoE and the King's minion will get to attack again. I think that card's really important.
So you think Chakki might decide to just keep it here?
It's hard. He does have a 1 and a 2, but none of these cards are Call to Arms. So, kind of makes you want to mulligan something. I'm not sure.
Chakki looks like he went for the full keep, and Odemian actually has a pretty strong hand this game too, picking up the Kazakus and the Raza. Always strong cards to have.
Kazakus are really important in these aggro matchups. Just such efficient AoE options, no matter what mana cost you take. Will we see this potion? Probably. Just removes damage.
Yeah.
Before a Righteous Protector gets in the way. Just get those off the board.
So it's been a little bit interesting. In the last meta, we saw Priest get banned almost every game. But now that Q-Block is such a strong deck against these aggro matchups, then people have to leave the Priest up because they just need to ban the Q-Block. So we'll see how people will try and beat Priest with these aggro decks.
Just sort of ends up being a much cleaner ban. It's really good against aggro when built a certain way. So when you remove it from the equation, the aggro lineups really open up, and you can do a lot with that. And Odemian just has He has the silence to deal with the Blessing of Kings. That's crucial.
Yeah, Chakki keeping that Blessing of Kings, and it's just ultimately just going to get punished by him having the silence.
Yeah. Without that card, it's really difficult to deal with the early Blessing of Kings.
And there's actually a lot of good cards to get for Odemian here. I think the best would be Call to Arms. That could definitely be a blowout, but you know, Vilefin Inquisitor, I think that is probably the worst one. Sometimes even in this situation, you decide for hand size reasons not to pick it because you do not usually want a Murloc as your hero power. But he decides that, hey, I might need the hero power at some point, might need the 1/3, and I don't blame him. Your hero power ultimately gets changed once you play Anduin, so there's usually a situation where you can play it. Just don't play it after that Anduin.
Don't play it after Anduin. But pre-Anduin making a 0 mana 1/1 every turn. That's not that bad. It's pretty good, I'd say.
Chakki with a tough decision here. The Rallying Blade lines up okay, but a lot of times you're thinking, like, how can I apply the most pressure to the Priest? And that's what you're saying with the Blessing of Kings. But he gets really punished by both Silence and Death if he goes for the Kings that turn. So just going to get the buff on the 1/1. Clear out that minion, continue to push a little bit less damage than he could have, but board's a little bit more sturdy.
Yeah. And with the Tournament hand, depending on what he drew, he could take a line where he goes wider and try and get a really good Tournament. We see, though, the Kazakus coming down, so Chakki will be worried about that AoE, which he did not get. He got summoned 2 friendly minions that have died, and whatever choice he makes here, it looks like deal 5.
Definitely going for that tempo-based Kazakus potion, wanting to heavily fight for the board. He knows that if he could survive the early game, he could use his resources like Dragonfire Potion and Psychic Scream to clear the board in the late game.
And he knows no Divine Favors coming out.
And that's
so
really important to know.
He can run Chakki out of stuff eventually if he draws enough removal.
I feel like that's the reason why it's pretty bad not to run Divine Favor against Priests is things like Psychic Scream remove the board no matter what it looks like. And if you don't have Divine Favor for the refill, a lot of times you just get beat by the 1 or 2 AoEs.
Yeah. It makes sense with their ban to not run Divine Favor, but this is the one matchup that they have to leave up that they'd still like to have that card.
Yeah. They decided for the Kings and Bone Mares mostly because it's good in like every other matchup that Divine Favor is bad in, because sometimes you play an Aggro Mirror and you're just staring at 3 mana do nothing. Yeah. So
quite poor. But
tech choice is not going to work out in this matchup, but we might see it work for the better in another one.
I don't think against Odemian.
Not against Odemian.
Yeah, so we see the silence just destroy. That was a 6/6 Divine Shield. Now it's a 1/1 nothing. And has that Raza online. I mean, Chakki's got a serious uphill battle. I mean, this Taram's pretty good.
And then the Raza gets put in the graveyard for the Kazakus potion, so that makes that a huge tempo swing.
Yeah. Chakki. I mean, he does just have the one AoE in the hand, so if these Bone Mares can get on board, there's no Anduin in sight yet. So he might be able to push through enough before Odemian's able to find the Anduin.
Yeah, I'm just worried about his ability to refill after that Psychic Scream, because Kazakus potion removes damage, makes a pretty good board for him this turn, and then if the board gets too out of control at any point, you just Psychic Scream and then it's on Chakki to try and figure out a way to apply pressure again. Definitely think Odemian's in a really good spot here, and that's a lot of stats.
Yeah, that was a strong 5-mana play. And unlike other aggro paladins we've seen, I don't believe there's any charge minions in this aggro pally deck. So once board is gone, he needs to make a board again.
That's a good point. The popular Paladin list includes cards like Deckhand, Patches, and even Leroy as a finisher. But Chakki, including the Murlocs, has to cut some of those cards.
Yep. Even something like Valinir, which is repetitive damage, just not in there. Really focus on getting the early board and just ending the game. So, just thinking about parting ways with this 0-mana heal 2.
Yeah, I think you hold it here, and the reason is because you just saw the Taram. A lot of times you play the 1/3, but put more minions on board to make the Taram less good. But once you see it come out, I think you'd rather just have the heal 2 every turn, if you want it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So, it's hard to do something that isn't Bone Mare on 7. He's just got to go in for it and hope there's a lack of removal from Odemian.
What would Uther do?
Not quite the case.
And another point, him having the Quest Mage, maybe it doesn't do so bad against the Paladin when they don't run the Divine Favor, because the deck, as you said, doesn't run Chargers. They don't have a way to deal with Doomsayer. If you get that Frost Nova Doomsayer, it's going to stick.
It's going to stick on curve for sure. Later in the game, you could do something like Taram with a Blade up, but on 5, not going to have those options available to you.
So this is a little bit awkward. He can just choose the Psychic Stream this board, but he does have a good amount of stats on board, so I don't blame him if he goes for the little bit of a risky Visions here, and he does go for it.
Wait, he could take Dragonfire and clear. He needs to use the coin, but Dragonfire isn't clear, that's fine. He gets a hold on the Psychic Scream, which is the much better spell.
Yeah, that was definitely a point where Chakki could have maybe been able to keep that board if he finds, you know, not the right spells, if he doesn't find Death, doesn't find that Dragonfire potion, then he really can't clear that big 7-11.
It's a tough call because if you just use the removal in your hand, if you play too safe for too many turns, then you let the Paladin make that board again. So like going for that different removal spell there and holding onto the Psychic Scream might have been necessary. That's an interesting decision point.
Yeah, I think it's pretty likely to get either the Death or the Dragonfire potion, and I think that's what he was thinking about. And as long as he gets one, it makes him so favored for the rest of this match. Whenever you have Psychic Scream in hand, it's so hard to die, because if anything gets out of control, you pluck the minions off the board, put them right into the opponent's deck, and it's hard to beat that.
That's a nice, clean board after the Psychic Stream. So Chakki, no respect for Anduin. And, well, he just can't have any. Well, that's pretty good. Now Odemian can start going through his deck.
Yeah, I think he's just going to want to Psychic Scream.
He's going to remove this turn.
Then he could draw a whole lot of cards next turn.
Yeah.
And he's still pretty healthy. He might think about playing the Vilefin this turn, just for a little bit of board pressure.
Could help clear with the Wild Pyro. Next turn, just have that extra damage to distribute to whatever Chakki ends up playing.
Yeah, I think I do like it here, just because that one damage could be very relevant.
Yeah. And the way you're going to keep yourself from being damaged against Chakki's deck is to just be on board. You don't have to worry about the face damage from hand.
And look at that, you even get a 1/1 too.
Yeah, resets the hero power. Well, Chakki has 9 mana and 9 mana worth of things.
Yeah, it's definitely a rough spot.
His hand is getting pretty emptied here. Could hero power with the
He just
Dire
has
Wolf.
to play his minions and hope.
Yeah. And Odemian very likely to find a second spell at some point, or just some way of removing Anduin would be quite good. Just very likely to find a way to deal with this. Probably the final board that Chakki's going to be able to make. Could find Call to Arms, and that'll make a little bit of a board, but
it's a little bit too late in the game for that.
It's probably a little too late for that.
So you can't quite see what Chakki's deciding on,
He's
but...
got Wind Fury, +1/+1, and Death Rattle.
Okay. In these situations, you always have to think, like, what is your out? And I don't blame him for going for the Wind Fury. Hope this minion survived. Maybe top deck that Bone Mare that got shuffled back in.
Yep.
Because you have to play to your small percentages in these situations. It's always cool to see players actually play to their outs.
Yep. That's another spell. I'm not sure it's one he's going to want to use. I think he'd like to go Wild Pyro Acolyte Shield. I'm not sure you throw the Blood Mage in there for the extra draw.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
You could just play the Blood Mage after, draw the card later.
Well, that's a cheap spell. So it's pretty good here. You get to remove that Wind Fury Murloc. I guess you'd be able to attack into it anyway, but you get to keep your minion around if you cast the spell now. And he's not going to need it for any sort of OTK combo. It's a pretty sad North Shard Cleric.
Yeah, that's a lot of cards drawn, and Chakki just left with the 5-2 on the board. Still, just has to hope for Bone Mare or something off the top. He's definitely a strong draw.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's something strong enough. This is a position where something like Uther of the Ebon Blade would be pretty good. He could just start swinging away.
I was very surprised. That was a card that Chakki and Trinity Series played with his team week after week. They'd play just Aggro Paladin with Uther. And that's such a strange concept to me, because you just look at Uther and you're just like, oh, that's just a slow control card, but they're hitting people in the face with it.
It's a 35-point life total swing. You gain 5 armor, the weapon deals 15, and it heals you for 15. If that's not good in an aggro matchup, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I know. I mean, talking to Chakki before the tournament in his preparation, I know that he considered it, but ultimately decided against it in the end.
Yeah, it's still a 9-mana card at the end of the day and can really mess up
clog up your hand.
Early draws.
So Odemian has to figure out how to order this exactly. You know, has 1 HP minions, doesn't want to cast a spell before trading them in.
Would not be good, but he's certainly not going to mess that up. Okay, not too useful, but 8's still a pretty safe place to be, I think.
I think so, just because, as we've said before, there's no charges in the deck.
Yep.
As long as you clear this 10-6, you'll be in a fine spot.
So let's...
He's going face because if he plays the Master Spell...
Okay, it goes down to 4 attack.
It goes down to 4 health anyway, so... That's
Very
definitely
good.
a heads-up play for him, just not missing any points of damage.
Yep. Very good. You can just make this trade and play some minions.
Yep, probably play the Thalnos.
Yeah, it's really...
for the card draw for next turn. It's very unlikely that it dies.
Yeah. I mean, this is safe. I think he can be this safe at this point. The 1/1 doesn't do much on board, and
Maybe
he
he's
guarantees
thinking the only way he loses is playing the Auchenai and having it not die or something.
Yeah, no, the Auchenai never comes out of the hand until that Spirit Lash has been cast. Chakki trying to figure out if he has any percent from this position.
Odemian could just go up to 30 HP next turn, and that's not an exaggeration.
Wow. Oh,
Velen,
wow.
Thalnos, Spirit Lash heals you to full.
That's 8 per minion it damages? Because Blood Mage gets it to 2, then Velen doubles it.
Yeah,
so it's 4 damage, but then it doubles the 4 healing, so that goes up to 8.
Health for each minion.
That's excessive. He doesn't need to do that.
But you can.
But he can. But if he had played the quest and was at 40 life, then he might need all of it. I think
Turns out you could basically play Reno with having duplicates in your deck. Who knew? You just need Velen, Thalnos, Spirit Lash. And he's going to do it here.
Yeah.
No Thalnos.
No,
okay.
No, this puts him to 28. Yeah,
and that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, 28. 28 is good enough.
Chakki going to see his last top deck of the game and then have to think, what deck is he queuing up next?
Conquest.
Yeah, and Conquest doesn't matter too much.
Unless you have a really, really good read on what your opponent's going to pick, which is very hard to do.
Yeah, some players are convinced that they can outthink their opponent and pick the right deck, but if you look at the math, as long as one person randoming, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is for certain true. So, we'll see. The Priest is not the deck he's worried about getting through, though. That one is expected to. If he's going to win this series, like, the Priest would get the easy win.
Yeah, a lot of times the aggro decks, or the aggro lineup, is expected to take that loss to Priest.
Yep.
Because if they had a second ban, that would definitely be their next best ban.
Yeah. So, Chakki going for the Spiteful Priest against the Jade Druid.
This is probably the best matchup for Spiteful Summoner Priest. Druid just has no way to deal with these big minions. It's not like you're running Big Game Hunter or any tech cards like that in the deck, so
No.
I expect him to just keep the Spiteful Summoner. And the question is, do you keep the rest? It's always a little bit weird because when you play Spiteful Summoner Priest, you really want to coin it out on 5. And that's definitely a big reason to pitch the Operative.
Yep.
Because then the curve doesn't work out exactly, but you almost always keep Captain with the deck. It's the only pirate you run besides Patches, so got to pull that guy out from your deck, and it's just a lot of pressure, too.
It's one of the best turn 3 plays in the entire game, so it's a pretty good card to keep in your hand. And, you know, we don't need to say anything about Corridor Creeper.
That's just the card of the set.
Keep that guy around. He's
We
real
saw
good.
Amnesiac's interview a little bit earlier, answering Corridor Creeper for every answer, despite the question. Funny guy.
He likes himself a meme. So Chakki, a little bit different from what you normally see from Spiteful Summoner Priest with the Firefly. Really trying to maximize Shadow Ascendant, because it is a very strong card.
Yeah, Shadow Ascendant landing on the 1-drop can blow out some slow decks, and the only 1-drop most people play is Northshire Cleric, and that's not really enough. It makes it so unlikely that you have the 1-drop into the 2-drop on curve, so Chakki playing the Firefly, making sure he has more minions for that, potentially.
Yeah. Well, he has a nice coin 3 into 3, but that
I don't
coin...
think you do it. The coin's
Yeah.
so valuable.
Yeah.
Being able to push that Spiteful Summoner turn earlier is what I think he's going to go for this game, rather than the pressure of the 3 into 3. Because those are things that the Druid can deal with. Although we do see in Odemian's hand, he's not working with much.
No, he did
No
not.
ramp, no removal. Well, Spellstone, that's not really a removal.
I mean,
Not yet.
Not a 2 damage. Not a 2 damage. At 6, then we're talking. But I think we're pretty likely to see a Flame Elemental here. Like, if he decides to coin 3 into 3, something like Plague could really slow him down. And that Summoner could come down a whole turn later, which could be an issue for him. So, Chakki, the ever-studious player, taking notes on
he's hovering the coin.
everything.
All right. He decides that the 3 into 3 is enough pressure. I mean, we do see that Druid's only on 3 mana. Even if he had Swipe, he couldn't play it this turn. So Chakki realized that these minions are just going to survive. So he's valuing the early game pressure over that big minion coming out a turn sooner.
Yep. Yeah, we see no ramp and no plague, so these early minions, I think, against a specific hand is going to work out quite good for him. Did give himself an extra turn to draw Patches, though. Didn't draw it. Never punished.
I mean, it's so unlikely.
I know.
Sometimes you do consider, I want to play the captain as soon as possible, but ultimately, it's not worth playing around.
So unlikely to draw on the one extra draw that if the other play is better, you just make that play. And certainly the play here. That's it. 9 power on board on turn 3. Fast start.
Okay.
Cost
Jade
4.
Spirit, he found a 4-drop. Not Mire Keeper. He was really hoping for ramp this turn into Spreading Plague. But now he's just going to upgrade the Spellstone, clear off the Patches, try and remove some damage and live.
Yep. And this gives him time. He took 5 damage off the board there. And the Corridor Creeper is still not active. Which is oh no,
Yeah,
it is. It is. What died? Oh, the 1/1 Jade also died, right. So it's down to 4.
And that's going to end up being the play this turn.
That could be good. I mean, he could go Nether Spite, so his Operative's active next turn, but 5/5 seems pretty good right now.
I definitely think you just want to apply as much pressure as fast as possible with the Priest. So
Yeah.
I expect a 5/5 to come down, and honestly, you don't really care if you're not getting the card with Dragon Operative in this matchup. You just want to just pile stats on the board, not really looking for a value game.
I think Jade Druid is one of the worst decks to play Operative against. You
There's-
just get all 1/1 Jade cards, and
Yeah.
like the Spellstone, you don't gain any armor. There's just nothing good.
There's UI. But
There's UI,
that's
but you
about
don't
it.
ramp.
That's true.
So, takes a while for you to get there. You're playing Mind Control at that point. Could draw a dragon anyway, that would be pretty good. No, didn't, but I'd be very surprised if we didn't see this 5/6. It does make it so that the Nether Spite's not online anymore.
Yeah, he could be thinking that he could take a trade and heal with Cleric,
Yeah.
but I sort of like playing all the minions,
I wonder.
hitting him in the head.
It's just so hard. And if you were to go with 2 small minions, like Cleric heal and play the 1/3, Plague becomes quite good, and we just saw that.
Yeah.
Drawn into Odemian's hand.
It's so rough from the Druid side. A lot of times you Plague in this matchup, but it doesn't catch you up. All it does is delay the inevitable, because you don't really have a way to clear the board.
No.
It's just too many big minions.
The time that Plague buys you does not do you that much in this matchup, and Chakki seems to agree with this 5/6 just coming down.
Yep, and doubt see any trades here. Just
Yeah.
hit him in the head.
Ooh.
But, oh, okay. Gonna protect his minions just a little bit.
Okay. Not sure
And
if there's a
this
specific
actually
card.
plays around Plague a little bit, because the other way, Odemian would have been able to trade both minions in the 5/5. And
He
that
still
attacks
gets-
a little bit, but it's like
Oh,
he
he
gets to
makes it a
choose to
5-1,
attack.
right,
yeah.
right,
So then the
right,
5/1
so-
would trade in. So this played around Plague a little bit.
Yeah, this
so
was-
heads up from
This
Chakki.
was a really good play. And Plague Arcane Tyrant.
Yeah, that's a card that, we haven't seen too much. I think Bill has included in his deck, but I think it's pretty good in Druid. A lot of times you get it for free, whether it's the turn you UI or even just, right here with Plague. Sometimes you play with Nourish even. Just a solid tempo card,
Yeah.
because we see that Druid definitely struggles with the tempo in the early game.
Yeah, now that everybody has a 0 amount of 5/5, Druid's not too thrilled about that.
Hey man, Firebat was playing Corridor Creeper in the Taiwan tournament the other week.
Fight fire with fire.
Yeah, if they do it, I can too.
Oh, baby. Does he get an old god? Or does he get a real card?
That's a
He got a
Tyrantus.
real card.
That is a card that Druid can literally never deal with.
That card is too real for Odemian right now.
Yeah. Odemian's out this game was for Chakki to go Spiteful Summoner, get the free from Amber, then Anomalous to pop out. But, Tyrantus is usually the best or second best one
Yeah.
to get. Sometimes Usarge is a little bit better depending on your situation. This is rough.
The deck doesn't run a card that can kill a 12/12.
Yeah, no big game hunter anymore.
No. Can he find second Plague and make some Jades behind that and maybe be able to kill it that way?
Yeah.
Is that the only way?
If the board was less big, he would be able to play the Malfurion for the Poisonous Spiders.
Yeah.
And since Chakki's deck only runs the 2 copies of Mind Control and Free from Ember, they have no way besides minions on board to deal with the Poisonous Spiders.
Yep.
It's always interesting playing against the Spiteful Summoner deck, because you almost have to get to respect basically nothing.
Yep. Just Duskbreaker.
Just us.
That's the only card that really interacts, and Odemian takes the 12 here, and he's not going to be able to deal with that board. But
And that match
No.
is actually pretty important in the series, because that means Odemian's not going to be able to get that Quest Mage into the Priest. So he might struggle here to find the win against either the Zoo or the Paladin. But as we said before, neither deck has a way to deal with the Doomsayer, so it definitely is possible.
Yep. Is it possible that it's going to be harder for the Druid to find a win?
I feel like that would be unlikely.
Now that the Priest is out.
I feel like some games against aggro, you just ramp up to the Spreading Plague, and sometimes that's just enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the advantages of Chakki playing the Murloc Paladin, is that it does way better against Plague than the other
Yeah.
popular faster list.
Yeah. So, Druid might find it difficult as well. But not the Paladin yet.
Your soul shall be mine.
Firefly and Zoo.
I must
Card that's been
protect
in and
the
out
wild.
a lot. Is it high impact enough to play it? But you want to play a lot of ones. It's tough. It's a decent card.
Yeah, Chakki decided. So the other one drops that we've seen, sometimes get played is some people were trying Glacial Shard, some people used to play Blood Imp, and then even the Abusive Sergeant type card.
Acker's Veteran.
Yes, and that ultimately people started to cut now because there's just too many ones with the Kobold Librarian.
Yeah. Librarian definitely shored up the 1 mana slot in Zoo. And I believe Odemian Mulligan, that's a pretty decent hand. The 2 damage Spellstone, good against Druid's best 1-drop.
Yeah, it's the Flame Imp could sometimes get buffed up against you and kill you alone, so having that immediate answer to it saves you so much HP in the long run. I'm glad that Odemian was able to find a ramp this game, but Chakki top decking that very important minion off the mulligan, Prince Keliseth, the highest win rate card in the deck.
That hand. That's
He even found
not
the purple
cool, man.
worm before any minions died.
Yeah. I was liking Odemian's hand, but Chakki's hand, like, all of Druid's removal just deals damage. And when you give everything 1 more health, Druid has to deal 1 more damage to everything. And
that
that's
is a big task for them to do.
Yeah. Just gets really, really hard for
But
them.
Odemian has a nice curve here. Able to go the Jade Blossom into the Jade
Yep.
Spirit next turn. And then even swipe Jade Isle fills out his curve, but oh man. 3/3 patches.
4/4 captain.
Oh,
Not only was the captain in the hand, like, it's not like it was in the hand, it was just, he drew it. It's the only buffed minion.
Yeah. And I think Chakki might decide to trade in the patches into the 1/1 to play Iron Swipe here. Wouldn't be too surprised to see that one.
Despite popular opinion, Chakki likes himself a trade.
Yeah.
He really
Plays
does.
aggro decks, but he likes to make trades with them.
Oh, yeah. There it is. So, Swipe sort of out of the picture here. But Spirit, these Jades,
They're getting big.
they are getting large.
These are the type of games that Aya comes down with a 4/4 Jade on curve.
Can you get a quarter? Yeah. Oh my. He could get it down to 1. Trade the patches into the Spirit. Trade the Prince into the 2/2. Plays 3 1-mana cards. Oh no. Oh, he's on 4 mana. What am I talking about? He could just play both Purple Worms.
That's a 5/5 and a 6/6. This just shows you why the matchup is Zoo favored. Because Odemian has had an incredible hand this game, but it just doesn't compare to Prince into double quarter creeper.
Odemian's Jades are 4/4.
On
But
turn
Chakki's
5.
Jades are 6/6. Look at that.
His men are bigger.
His men are bigger.
Can't compete.
And Odemian's men are about as big as they can get. Now, Dreadlord is not really getting much out of its effect. I wonder if Chakki just wants to throw a Voidwalker in there to just sack itself.
At the same time, 5/6 Dreadlord is pretty big.
Oh, that's true. That's just buffed. That's even bigger than normal.
And
Yeah,
the other
right.
2 cards in his hand aren't buffed. And also, if you play the small minions, you're playing into Plague, like trades and Plague.
point.
So I wouldn't be too surprised if he plays Dreadlord and then trying to figure out, does he want to make 1 trade? Does he want to go all face? I'm sure he's going to take a minute to figure out what he wants to do here.
15's a lot. But he
That's a
doesn't
lot
need
of
to go
damage.
all 15 to face. He could make 1 trade and still go face for quite a lot of damage.
He's deciding full.
No.
Not
Not
full
that trade.
Just going for the 2 of them.
Yeah. Still pushes 6 quite a bit. And now this is just a good... This Jade Behemoth is good, but not on this board.
Man, I'm telling you, usually people complain about his Aya Jade was a 4/4 on turn 6. It's just a 5/5 this game, and it's not even
He
close.
just... I mean... I guess he can trade and not be... He might have to just trade and play it. It's the only way he comes back into this game. He knows he's dead to a bunch
I
of
really
stuff.
like Odemian playing the Aya here. He knows that this is the way he potentially gets back into the game, but Chakki, with probably the just best draw we've seen out of any deck in this
That was
tournament,
incredible.
because Odemian had a good hand, and it got crushed.
He made some of the best plays his deck could do every turn. He had the Spellstone for the Flame Imp, right? On 1. He
Yeah.
still died on turn 6.
So
Zoo's good.
Odemian's now in a position where he needs to beat Chakki's Murloc Paladin 2 times in a row,
Twice.
which was the only deck he's beaten this series, so it would be going 0-3 for Chakki if he were to lose.
It looks like he didn't queue up the mage again. I really want to see the mage. I think the people want to see the mage,
People
too.
definitely want to see the
Yeah.
mage.
Everybody knows what Jade Druid's about.
Yeah. We've been seeing, sort of the same classes that are good in this tournament, so seeing mage, especially the quest mage variant, would have been a fun mix-up. So hopefully Odemian can take out this game, because you always want a series to go to Game 5.
Are they showing the Trinity Series rerun? Chakki's just drawing Corridor Creeper every game.
That is how they won that tournament.
But just both in the opener.
Some people taunting these players, they predicted whoever has the most corridor creepers played on average would be the winner of this tournament. And right now, if Chakki keeps this up,
he's
it just
drawn
might
more
be
this
him.
series. I'll say that. But I don't know if Odemian has that many, considering
true.
the
He's
decks they brought.
playing
But
decks with no corridor creepers.
yeah. So, Lost in the Jungle, best one drop to have with these creepers. Just put George and Carl on the board there.
And you just want them to die.
Well, you don't want them to die, but if they do die, they can still benefit the rest of their sacrifice was not in vain. And that's what this is about. Oh my god.
This is a
What
curve.
I mean, you do it. These corridor creepers are at 4, but you don't care.
There's no rush to get them out.
No.
Like, Murloc Tidecaller, Coin Rock Pool is a common play with this deck, and it's always just really strong, so a lot of times you want to do the strong plays early. You don't have to, hero power to hope that minion dies to then get the corridor creepers lower. You just do your strongest play, and they'll come out at some point to then create a board that Druid will struggle to deal
in
with.
aggro mirrors, you hold this play sometimes. If Tidecaller's your 1-drop, you'll hold it if your opponent plays a 1.
That's
and
right.
point it out. That's how strong this is. And when you're ahead, it's even better. And Odemian gives him a minion to kill. And that's going to be a purple worm on the board.
Yeah, first one will come out.
Yeah. Direwolf does not improve any trades. And a 5/5 is just a lot bigger than a 2/2.
Yeah, as Chakki, you have to be thinking, what card are you afraid of? Swipe doesn't do much.
No.
You're still left with the 5/4 on the board, so playing this out for 3, pretty good.
Yeah. Turns out 5/5 on turn 3. Here's the swipe. It's the play that removes the most damage, but it still leaves quite a bit.
Yeah. We saw some people's opinions that, Quarter Creeper is only so good right now because of patches, but this was a game, no patches were played. 3-mana Quarter Creeper on curve. Turns out it's a really strong card.
George and Carl. It's like
and
George pulled Carl
That's true.
out of the deck. It's basically patches.
Odemian top decking that swipe and just using it to try and relieve a little bit of the pressure, but pressure's not going to stop.
No. Purple worm, number 2. What can we call them? Thing 1 and Thing 2?
Sure.
Okay. Thing 2 is going to come down. For sure.
They come in pairs for Chakki.
And is there merit to this Rallying Blade to not commit the Direwolf into turn 6?
I like just playing it anyway.
I like playing it as well.
It applies more pressure, and again, Odemian's best play would be Plague and maybe one Arcane Tyrant. It's really unlikely that he has both of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're too worried
No.
about
And
that
against
play.
Jade Behemoth, you want that Direwolf on the board.
Yeah.
So, these are the things that Chakki is mulling over. Odemian's mulling over. How? Why? I won 5 in a row. Now I'm on stream, and Chakki's just doing this to me.
And there's just Quarter Creepers. So Chakki thinking, okay, I'll play Arm Plague a little bit. He can play that Direwolf next turn to make the trades easier into the Behemoth.
Yeah.
So
And it's mana
either way,
efficient.
he's in such a good spot that I think he decided this is a safer play, and it just could be.
Yeah. If he were to draw another
Ooh.
3-mana card as well, he'd be able to play with the Direwolf.
This top deck punished his, last play a little bit because he really wants to play the Cold Arms this turn.
Yeah.
But the Direwolf just makes these attacks so clean that he might have to just pass up on the Cold Arms.
I think he has to.
Yeah.
I think he has to, which is crazy to even think about.
Because it's just such a high.
The Rallying Blade is
Value
good here,
card.
though, as well, to deal with this 3/3.
Yep.
Otherwise, he'd have to ignore it or make an extra trade. So, Call to Arms just not. Should have been 3 mana, I think. Yeah.
You want to lose the game on turn 3 instead of turn 4?
I mean, at least I'll know
That's true.
at that point.
You know, you always see that classic argument. Would they rather lose to aggro decks or against the combo decks? Sometimes you'll know that you're going to lose by turn 4. Other times you'll get 30'd from hand. And, yeah, it's just a preference. What do you think is more fun?
I like me some aggro.
I like both aggro and combo decks. Combo decks are sweet, man.
Sure.
Are you saying it's not fun to see jungle giants? We saw that show match earlier.
I'm not that big a fan of Jungle Giants, but is this lethal? No.
Yeah.
It is.
Well,
okay.
even if it
Come on,
wasn't,
I mean,
he's dead.
The game was plenty over.
And
Bit
that's Chakki
unfortunate.
picking up the series. We saw Odemian fight back against all the aggros to go 5-2, but falls to Chakki here.
I mean, he's 5'3" now, so I think it's